Me some dang slack gear.
Sploosh. Jumping in to the fishing topic, which actually is going to span 2 parts. In this case, we're just going to talk fishing topics because this is the official start of our 2023 in review, Tim.
Yep.
Before we even read anything, how are you feeling?
Real shitty.
Yeah. Me too, man. Me
Oh,
too.
man.
Real
Yeah.
shitty about this one.
As soon as when we were talking about like the reviews, and then I started thinking, I'm like, fuck, dude. I started thinking about all the different things that we said last year, and
I know.
And
with such vigor and hope.
I know.
I remember
we're
it. I didn't go back and listen to it, but
just bright-eyed, like 2023 will be different. And then I was looking through some of the stuff that was written down, and I'm like, oh my god. And like half of the stuff I'm like, I forgot that I said that, and I'm like, oh my god, I forgot that I said that I forgot that the last time I said I forgot about it, and then this whole year goes by, and I'm like, I literally did it again. Shit.
I almost wrote down in one of my 2024 goals is get Tim a fishing vision board.
Dude. Okay. So without ruining too much of it, goal for 2024 is to write shit down.
Oh, and he's got the notebook out.
To actually get it. Yeah. Because I'm reading through this stuff and I'm like, do we talk about it one time? And then I don't think about it again until we get to this fucking show. And I'm like, those were my goals, correct? And I told myself those were my goals, but then nothing happened with it.
Right. I know.
I think it would be different if that other app that we were using wouldn't have turned into a bunch of shitheads.
Yeah, I know. And I thought about that today in prep for this. So just keep going. Don't even mention the name. Yeah, we're going to keep.
Right, exactly. But that was kind of like our digital vision board where we were just tossing out ideas, writing down. And there was all those different channels and stuff. And it was like a lot of times when I was having, I'd have an idea, I'd throw it in there. I'd have I need to go back and review. I'd pop in there and just be like, oh, what's up? And now there's like really no space, and I'm not making excuses, but it's just like, if it's not front of mind for me, I will forget. My short-term memory is absolute dog shit. I don't know how to make it better, but like even at work, I will go and fill up my water bottle, set it down. I may have said this on the pod before. I will fill up my water bottle. I will set it down. I will go to the bathroom. I will be like, can't forget my water bottle. And I'm peeing, like thinking about it. And I'm just like thinking about my water bottle today. No way I'm going to forget it. Washing my hands. This is water. I need my water. Never going to forget. Talking about water. No way I can forget it now. And I'm like walking out, and like one guy like walking in at the same time. I'm like, oh shit, excuse me. And then he like walks past, and that was enough.
To just make
I just stopped talking about water, and that's it. And then I walk right past it, and I'm driving on the way, and like 10 minutes down the road, I'd go, I could use a drink. And then I go, fuck.
Shit.
So it's like that one thing that'll jog my mind where, like I'm constantly thinking about Real AF TV, and I'm constantly thinking about like what we could be doing. But at the same time, a lot of times without having the goals that I've set for myself or thought exactly what I was going to do, a lot of times I'll go, what was it I was going to do? And I was like, oh yeah, you fucking idiot. Record yourself fishing. And it never goes past that. I'm just like, duh, get the camera, go fishing.
Right.
But then I forget like the secondary goals. Fish for what? What are we doing today? I don't know. Go catch some fish and we'll figure it out.
Yeah. No, for sure. I get you, because it's almost like one of those it's almost it sounds, I don't want to say like a self-fulfilling prophecy where in like a negative way, but what I'm really trying to get at is it's like one of those things where you just think about the thing as like, oh, I could get out today. I can turn on the camera today.
Mm-hmm.
Or and then you don't think about that. You're just like, oh, what do I need to do to turn the camera on today? What do I need to do to get a line wet and camera on at the same time? And then you just forget the other goal because you've refocused your attention. And I totally get that, because one of my 2024 goals, when we get into it, is that where I thought I was going to do this, even though I didn't have it on my 2023 goals.
Yeah.
And all I could think about was like, okay, I got to do this, this, and this. And I do 2 out of the 3 steps, and I could never get to the, third one to actually make it happen. And it wasn't even on my goal list. It was a new goal that I had just created for myself. And that was what I honed in on. I forgot to go back and look at other things to see if I could make them happen instead. That maybe only took 2 steps, It was my own self-distraction.
Yeah. Yeah. So that makes total sense, because that's a lot of what I have happening too, where I don't have excuses for anything. I just have trying to self-evaluate after the fact and being like,
right,
where did it go wrong? And it's like you were talking third step. It's just like, oh, first 2 went smooth. Then I saw a dog.
Yeah.
Just
right. Yeah, for sure. And that's why I know last year I kicked it off with no excuses. And I think we really try to stick to the no excuses thing. And I'm not trying. I don't think this sounds like excuses at all. This is totally us evaluating before we get into the actual reviewing of the goals, and before we get in our 2024 goals. This is us looking back at our list, high level, and going, yeah, man, I think I just got distracted.
Hell yeah.
Now, I mean, not entirely, but I mean, Tim, put up 26 good photos or short videos. I got 1 fucking short video out.
Yeah.
I didn't create a single other, I didn't film anything worth even a 30-second or 60-second short video. After that, anything that I did film, any photos, it was gone. Yeah. And 26, I mean, good photos or videos, we didn't get fuck.
I know. I was
photos. Photos. We have one of the best cameras in the world in our pockets.
I know. When I saw that goal, I was like, oh no. And how you said photos, I was just like, I can't believe that I said that was one of my goals, and I didn't even think about it.
It was one of the Real AF TV goals as a whole, right?
Do you know how? Yeah, but for me, I'm out there fishing, I'm taking pictures. I was super active on Instagram the first time, when we launched this. I was really taking the pictures, and I was really
for sure.
And I felt like I was getting a little bit repetitive. And then the camera got stolen. I talked about that last year. And that's kind of why I was even talking oh, now I'm ready to get back into it. I'm ready to do more stuff. And then this year I kept having these goals. Dude, I don't know. It's like that step thing again. I had that old tackle box with the old lures that I got from the Fleet Mart or the
Oh yeah. I remember you talking about that.
Yeah. So I was going to take pictures of those. I can't tell you how many times those got put in a trunk to drive someplace, because I was like, I'll have a good photo opportunity here.
Oh, sick. You're going to do an outdoor setting,
I'll just
set them down on something cool.
Yeah, just some old old driftwood or whatever. Just find something. Just have a cool setting where I could take some photos, or you get a creek and you can take a picture with some water in the background, where you got on some rocks or whatever. I had all these ideas. And every time I brought them someplace with me, it was just those steps again, where it was something else was happening and it just never got around to it. And it's also again, not making excuses, but having a little one and a family and being with other people.
Super distracting.
Not only distracting, it's super hard to, at least for me, maybe it's easy for some other people, but it's very hard for me to be like, hey guys, can you just find some way to entertain yourself for a while?
Right.
Dad's going to take these lures and go into the woods.
Yeah. I need 30 minutes in the woods with these fishing lures.
I
And
just
no
need
matter
to-
what you hear, do not come in those woods.
Do not come out in the woods. I'm going to drive out to a spot that's going to take me a second to get there. And then I'm going to walk out and I'm going to take some photos in the woods. And then they're like, can we come with? And I'm like, sure. And then it's like complete distraction. Even there, like I remember that we went to a park once and I'm like, I'm going to take some photos. And we got out there. When we were out there, there was like all these smooth stones and it was like time to skip shit. And I don't even know if I ever grabbed any of the fucking lures. I definitely didn't get many pictures in. So I don't know.
Right.
I feel like I did take some pictures, but I don't. It was like when I saw that goal, I was like, shit.
Yeah.
I got to go back in my camera roll and see if I'm pretty sure I took some photos. I got to see if I can find those.
Yeah.
So,
and I should have done that. I should have too. Like I should have just gotten the same thing. I should have remembered like, hey, I got some good looking, because I've taken back again when we started in 2019, 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had some good old school lure photos that I took, and it's just like, oh, I should have done that again. Like I should have went and got other ones, and I should have got, because I got more that I didn't, that we didn't post, that I didn't shoot, that I didn't Photoshop. Not Photoshop, but like in the sense of like I didn't make them look fucking big titties and fat ass. I made them
right.
I made them look. I just zhuzh up the color a little bit. In Photoshop, I just mess with the contrast and the saturation a little bit because I shoot in RAW. So, yeah. Anyways, it hurt me to look at that one too and think the same thing.
Yeah.
And just go, man, why don't I think about lures? Because lures are fucking dope, and I didn't.
And I love, dude. That's what drove me nuts, because I love lures, and I'm like, I just like the way lures look. I like.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple pages that I follow, and that's all they do. Their Instagram is literally like setting up different rigs, taking photos of them.
Oh, sick!
And then like posting the stuff.
Yeah, that's dope.
Yeah. So there's some cool stuff out there, but yeah, it's like, man, I should definitely. And I don't see a lot of like strictly old lure stuff.
Oh, nice.
So maybe people would be interested in that.
Oh, I know I am for sure. Being a history guy and like, I love vintage, like, I don't know, antique shops are fucking dope, and like I love that stuff. I think it's super sick. It's just trying to make little fishing eye candy, whether it doesn't have to just be us casting. I like the idea of making like fishing eye candy for, I don't know how else to put it.
I think some of the old lures too are so like visually appealing versus some of the stuff that we have today. Like the stuff that we have today is so good for fishing itself because it mimics a real bait, or it will be the right color. And some of the old stuff is so just like, what the fuck is that thing? It's just like all these different random things coming off the lure and the way the hooks are on and everything. It's just like some of them are a lot. There's just a lot going on. And you're like, that doesn't really look like anything. All the lures today look like something. And the lures, some of the lures back in the day, you're like, I don't even know what this is supposed to mimic. It's just, it's made to make a splash. That's all that one does.
For sure. But I like what you're saying too, because like I probably could have got some ghillie shots, because I did get the ghillie out on the water a couple times. But again, nothing. I didn't film anything that could have been a short. I didn't.
Yeah.
Like the ghillie hit the water, didn't catch anything. I don't know what else to say. So the footage, I can't even remember if I shot it. It doesn't matter, because nothing happened. There's no story there. I mean, like literally no story behind it.
Dude, and that's what
and you can't shoot a photo of it. It's just a fucking little fish.
I know. Well, the only thing I was going to say, I'm not trying to naysay you. I was going to say, I do have a couple of photos if you're interested, if you want to go see them, because I did have a couple of ghillies that were the color of the saltwater fish from down in Florida. So if you go to the Instagram page now, you will see like some of the Florida trip. There's 2 different posts. One of them's about the fish that I caught, and one of them is about the trip to the Bass Pro Shops, and they had ghillies down there that were colored like the saltwater fish, and that was kind of crazy to see, to be like, oh, look at that.
Yeah.
This is the imitating the bait fish here. So that was
Right.
crazy. But like, that's where it really kind of
But
made
that's the
sense at
difference
that
between
point.
experience and like me thinking of like, what am I going to do? Shoot this ghillie with a blurred background? Like, why? Why?
Right.
Like I'm going to
Yeah.
take this ghillie out into the woods and get a nice shot of it through the trees with the water in the background. Like, no, it's for a ghillie that doesn't really work for a tradition, like for a common mass produced
Yeah.
right now lure that doesn't work, but change that out for a 67 Rapala redhead or something like that. And you're like,
Right.
sick,
Yeah.
dude.
Exactly. Some of those are cool. I do want to get some photos of the ghillie like catch the sunfish, like the species that it is.
Yeah,
And like the
dude.
match the hatch photos, like have a photo, like because they're so realistic looking
I love
to
that.
have a photo with the actual fish. So it's like I just got to have a ghillie on hand and go catch some panfish.
Yeah.
When I catch them, just be like, look at that, dude.
Yeah. That's a sick
Yeah.
idea. See, it's the experience though that you're bringing, and that's the same thing with you taking the photos of the ghillies down in Florida. It's the
Yeah.
experience, right? It's that is conveying an experience in comparison to what I was talking about, where making the eye candy sort of thing.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, for
Mine
sure.
has more of like a story behind it. But yeah, just to take a photo is like, um, I don't know what you could do besides like propping it up around some weeds and stuff and then taking a
Hmm.
photo where it kind of looks like it's in water, but it's not in water. But you'd have to like prop the fish up. It's like
Hmm.
a big, like a ghillie. You'd almost have to like create a world and be creative.
Yeah,
Like
for
just
sure.
taking
Now
a
that's
picture of a
cool.
soft plastic itself. I have taken pictures of soft plastics like in the packaging already, like on driftwood next to rivers and stuff.
Hmm.
So some of that was kind of cool. So
Hmm.
maybe something like that. But yeah, it's all ideas and trying to
Right.
figure things out and what you're going to be able to do. Yeah, I again right now thinking about it, it all seems so simple
So
to just
doable.
be like
I know.
so doable, and
Let's
I
keep
know
our
it
positive
is.
energy on that though.
Yes,
It seems so doable. Let's actually revisit that one when we start talking 2024, because that's a real AFTV goal. Like that's a team, that's a me and you effort, right? Because if you take one and you're like, hey, I think you can Photoshop this one a little bit and tune it up, and then it's ready for the gram. Because we do like to put a little production behind our stuff, behind the content that we make. Aside from the experience stuff where we're just like, okay, let's post this. This is fucking cool. Where it's like, you know,
right.
your son's first bass that he catches or something like that. Or
Yep.
holy shit, look at these gillies, because this isn't what we see. Like, here's a gillie from the north. Well, here's one when you're on the coast, right?
Yep.
Like that's different. But again, I think we think about production value a little bit before we just go ahead and post like a fucking selfie with a 7-inch Rapala from the local bait store. It's like, why?
Right. Yeah.
So let's keep on real AFTV a little bit. Okay, so we got Tim's
Yeah.
home studio, more than podcasting. Total nosedive on that one. you hit some home improvement issues there that
I
really kind
did.
of put a damper on that. And also I have
Yeah.
parts that you need to turn it into something more. If that's still an option. I don't want to
Oh
give away
yeah.
too much, but you know what I'm
Right.
talking about. I still have
Yep.
parts for
Yep.
that, and
Yeah.
we haven't seen each other. I haven't brought those with since anytime we've seen each other.
True. Yeah. Yeah. But there's plans in the work. There's stuff. This room that I'm in now
Mm-hmm.
might be a lot further down the road to get it finished than we initially thought, because we kind of went from like we need to have gutters to stop the water and all this stuff
Mm-hmm.
to I think we need new siding and maybe the whole house needs to get done before we fuck with gutters. So
Oh
now we're
shit!
like,
Sure.
now it might be the whole thing, but the rest of the rooms, now that like Christmas is winding down and all the holidays and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
as long as we're in the area and it got some weekends to do some stuff. I think might be able to get stuff done because I have the carpet cut for all the rooms. It's like the size that it needs to be. It's all ready to roll. I just need to have the time to prep everything and actually get in there.
Yeah, like a weekend.
Do it.
Layer down.
Yeah. And once that's done, then I can set stuff up,
Then you can start thinking bigger. Yeah.
Then I can start moving things around. The bathroom down here is just full of all the furniture that was in all the other rooms.
Oh, shit.
So it looks crazy.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah. So anyways, yeah. But yeah, that was a flop on that one. But yeah, it ended up not being one of those where it was like, shit, I didn't read the thing. It was like front of mind the whole time.
Oh yeah. It felt like every time we came on the podcast before in the like pre-podcast shit, we'd always be talking a little something here and there.
Yeah. And every time we go a little bit further, it's like, shit, well, if we do this, it's like, are we just wasting time and money? Because we're going to have to take it down and do all this other stuff. And eventually, like, we started like tossing around the idea of like, what it's like to talk to a bank and all this other shit. So don't need to bore anybody with that. But it's like every step along the way, it's like, well, how do we accomplish this next goal we just figured out? Like, well, we got to do this. Yeah. And then when you get to that point, you're just like, well, if we're going to do that, we might as well do all this other shit.
I know. They really pile on top of each other. And that's actually kind of what we were talking about, even with the, like, the goals of like doing something, all of a sudden it becomes bigger than you expected. And then you forget about it, or you feel like you can't act on it, or now know this is a 2 years away goal or something like that. If anybody out there is a professional goal setter, hit us up in the comments or something. Like if you're listening to us and just going, oh, you guys, you got to do this. Yeah. You got to do, set smaller goals or something. It's like, I don't know, whatever it is. If you're some sort of psychologist or you understand this stuff better than we do.
Right.
In some way, like because I know there's so many times I'm listening to a podcast and I'm like, oh, well, that's because he didn't, turn it on and turn it off again. Cause I'm an IT professional. I understand. But seriously, if you get it, you get it. Hit us up in the comments. Hit us up in the DMs on social. At Real AF TV. Sure. On just look up Real AF TV, Real like Fish and Real. You'll find us. We come up. We're listening.
I'd like to preface too, like if you do see that and you're thinking, you'd like to help, and that's what you want to do is be helpful. Dope. Or you're like, I can give you this knowledge if you guys want to help us out with help us fish, or whoever.
Tit for tat situation.
Cool. We could work like that
in exchange.
But we're looking for like a fucking life coach. Not just be like for the low fee of like $15,000 every 3 months.
Fuck that. No, I was talking about like just being neighborly, basically.
Exactly.
Neighborly on the internet.
That's a good way of putting it. If you want to be neighborly on the internet, we're neighborly. Let's talk.
Yeah,
let's chat.
We can
barter, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to do.
Right.
But don't be like, I know the answers. I can get your shit together. All you got to do is pay my fee. Like, no, we're not looking for that shit.
Fuck that. I'll delete your comment.
Hey, right. Yeah. One of those people that's just like, if you got that, I can help you out and I can help everyone else out too. Go to my website.
Right. No, that's called an ad, and fuck you.
Yeah, you ass clown. You imaginary person we just made up.
We just made up and had a fight with.
Yeah, you go suck a dick, you fart farming piece of shit.
So I started in the document, I started putting minuses and pluses next to things, and I got to the Real AF TV goal of launch into short form videos. Man, fuck that. We did that. That's a plus. We kept it that simple. I'm going to say, yeah, we did it. Now, did I make as many as I think we could have? Or did we create as many as I think? No, we could have. No,
right.
Not at all.
Yeah.
We got one out there and it was fine. And that was 100%. Good. We know how to do it. We know that we can do it.
Right. And that's like a lot on me too, because I'm not giving you a lot to work with. I don't have a lot of I know another one of the goals was to like record more, get more in the tank.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I did
yeah. For
not.
you had
Right.
yep, put more fishing
So
footage in the can. It wasn't even
yeah.
anything
So
specific.
right. And dude, I got out there and I filmed a couple of times, but
Mm-hmm.
when I did film, it didn't turn out to be good, or it ended up being like just stupid shit. Oh,
Something that
excuse
you
me.
just
Well,
didn't feel great
like
about, or
me and Braxton went fishing, my nephew, and there'd be times where we like casting and stuff, and I'm trying to like, just fish a way that I can put him on fish and try to help him out and stuff.
yeah.
So we're not really like dissecting the lake. We're not necessarily doing what I think would be best that way. We're doing what he can do.
Ah, yeah,
So
yeah. Okay.
I'm trying to put him in the right locations and stuff and catch fish. And we were catching fish, but they were little bass, and like there was a lot of like hanging up on docks and stuff. And I suppose with like some editing, we could have done some stuff, but um a lot of times too, I was like almost more focused on getting him situated and stuff. And
Oh.
the footage just wasn't necessarily there.
Mm-hmm.
Um and
Because the camera almost became the third focus of focus
yeah,
almost, or fourth
right.
even maybe.
So let me ask this too, because we didn't really chat about this before
Yeah,
we started.
yeah.
Are we talking about like how we dropped the ball last year, and then we're going to talk about our new 2024 goals in the second half?
Yeah. I mean, if it
Okay.
ties in here too, good, but that's
Yeah,
the general idea here is let's take this time to review ourselves, review last year, kind of like get our thoughts together about last year and then
sure.
go into
Yep.
2024 in the
All
second
right.
half.
So we'll talk about 2024, and we'll talk about what I got plans on changing and how I can make things different, because I
Yeah.
was going to touch on that stuff, but we'll wait on that stuff. But I'll just say that like a lot one thing people don't think about, I think I said it last year too,
Mm-hmm.
is that it's a little bit socially awkward to
Oh
wear
yeah.
the cameras.
Right.
Maybe
Yeah.
it's okay with other people, but unless I'm fishing in a boat by myself, it feels a little weird to turn on the camera and I feel like I'm alienating the people around me.
Right.
I I feel like they didn't sign up for this, and now I'm trying to like record with them in the
Yeah.
boat.
And almost you feel
Um,
like you just by turning on the camera, you became a solo mission in a social situation, right? Like you
right.
said, you alienated yourself from the group by turning on the
Yeah.
camera. You feel like because
Yeah.
they didn't necessarily come out on this beautiful July afternoon um, to be put in a camera, to be
But
put on
yeah, to be
camera, to be
right.
yeah, and a lot of people aren't comfortable with it. And so
Right.
you turn on the camera and they freeze up. They get awkward. We've talked about that before. Like
Yeah.
we've been around cameras for so fucking long, it doesn't matter to us. You turn on a camera and we just keep going.
Right.
Right. Exactly. You can just keep your hands down. It's fine. But so I put a slash. I put like a half. I put a slash in that. So what I'm doing is I'm going a plus, a minus, and a slash. A slash is like, well, we tried. You tried. I mean, you tried to. You turned on the cameras, right? But
Yeah.
you wouldn't say anything got in the can, as
Right.
in anything like that's a wrap, right? Like,
Right. Technically
if
footage exists, but none of it I was happy with. None of
yeah,
it I really
none
saw
of it's
as
in the share
anything I could.
drive between me and you, and that's what we should
Correct.
be
Yes.
defining as the
That
can,
yeah,
right?
that's a good way of saying it.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. Because it
Now, early
exists, but it was
pre-spawn.
stuff
Oh
where
fuck, we already talked about that one. I remember that. We're just gonna x fucking negative that one right now.
yeah, because that one
Pre-spawn
the
was all fucked
pre-spawn,
up this year
because the weather was just weird
because of the
as
weird.
shit,
Yeah.
which I think kind of brings us to the next one, correct? Where we're
Um.
talking about the ice fishing. Get more.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Because I had ice fishing on there again in 2023 for my goals. Yep.
Hell yeah. So I had it as mine as well, and it was like get more confident in ice fishing.
Oh yeah. Yep.
I tell you what, I don't feel real comfortable. I'm a big dude, so I don't feel comfortable with like thinner ice.
Mm-hmm.
And it started getting a little bit more thick. And the Friday before Christmas, there was still some lakes where I saw like super thin ice. People were walking out with like no gear on them whatsoever.
This
They were
year,
going
like
out
you're talking
this
just
year.
a couple weeks ago.
Couple weeks ago, this year on a Friday, some of these lakes, like there were lakes that I saw open, and then there were some lakes that I saw people walking on. I'm like, well, that one must not be shielded from the wind. There's a little bit of ice on there or something, because I see these guys walking out there and they got holes in the ice, and they're actually out there. So I was like, well, that must have a little bit of ice on there. When we came back from the winter break, little short winter break on Tuesday, that lake that those guys were fishing on was completely open.
Yep.
There was no ice left whatsoever.
I know.
The ice must have been almost non-existent, because it took 4 days from them to go ice fishing to them there not being
to it
any
being
ice
you
on
could
that
put a
lake
boat
anymore.
on that motherfucker.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If people are listening and they're not from Minnesota, they don't know. I've never seen this. I have never seen this in my life. There's never been a time where it's got to Christmas and the lakes have been open.
Yep.
We are about to hit New Year's and the lakes are open. Up on the lake that I normally fish, they are offering discounts to people like for live bait that show up with a boat. They're offering discounted bait because the lakes are open, and they are not selling bait. So they're like, come up here, we'll give you half off your bait and you can go fish the lake.
Yeah.
You just need to know that you're,
because nobody's buying bait because there's no hard water. So they're trying to get people with their boats, which have already been winterized.
Right.
Unless you have your own garage.
But I see it, dude. I saw boats today. I saw people towing boats today.
Yep. Open boats,
It's
not
nuts.
covered, not sealed up.
Right. Nope. They're going fishing.
Yeah.
I honestly thought about it this week, where I was just like, what does it take for me to get my tiny boat ready to go out on Saturday, because I could.
All right. Okay.
And
for sure,
it's just too much. The answer is way too much shit.
Sure.
I'm not ready to jump back into that season. Like when spring's coming, you got like weeks to kind of just be like, all right, this has to get done. This has to get done. Then you're ready.
Right. This
but
is
that
like
boat is like
a couple hours tomorrow morning.
Yeah. That boat is like completely disassembled. It's flipped upside down for the winter, so the water, doesn't pool in the inside and stuff. And it's just like,
effectively,
there's so much. Yeah, I would literally have to tell my wife to be like, you figure out something to do with the kid, and I'm going to work on the boat the first half of the day, and the second half of the day I'm going to take the boat out fishing.
Right.
And you won't see me during the daylight hours. And I feel like a dick trying to do that stuff. But and then we got a Christmas this weekend too. So it's like it would only be for that one day. If I had the whole weekend, the whole 3-day weekend, I would have done it for sure.
It'd been different, for sure. But one's taken up by family time, like
they're
already.
And they're also forecasting possible snow in the evening tomorrow night here. Anyway, so it's like we are still in winter, but it's just crazy that the
water is like open.
The water is open.
Yeah,
I was thinking I should see if I can find a spot to go and like cast off shore.
Yeah, I've actually thought about that too. I was like, I should go to the lake that's around me here and see if it's open or not, or like how open it is, because it's open. I don't know where.
To be able to say that it's fucking, it'll be December 30th and you caught a fish on open water in Minnesota is just gnarly.
It's crazy. It's fucking
normally
weird.
The lakes are, a lot of years the lakes are frozen over like end of November.
Mm-hmm.
And then by Christmas time, people are making plans for their winter break to go sit out in their permanent, because it's thick enough that they're pulling dual axle giant trailers with their full 3,000-4,000 pound truck.
Right.
Yep. And this year, open water.
Open water. Yep. One of my favorite Christmas movies, and I say Christmas movies in quotes, is Grumpy Old Men. And it starts before Thanksgiving, and they're like, it's purposely set around like a heavy winter, right? Like that's their whole point. But they're brushing off their cars and getting ready to go out ice fishing, and it's Thanksgiving.
Right.
Which is like, yeah, that's possible.
Yeah.
Yep. It used to be. I don't know what the fuck, you know. If like back in the 90s, you were like, yeah, that was a thing.
I think just 2 years ago, it was. Last year was warm and it snowed a shit ton.
Yep.
And then I want to say like they were showing different things about like years that we've had no snow on Christmas. And I think it was like 2018, 2019 was one where we didn't have any snow. And it was like, we didn't have any snow that year, but it was cold as shit.
But it was cold. It was cold. Yeah.
Yeah. Nobody looked at it and was like, it's not winter yet. Just because there's no snow. Everybody was like, it's winter.
Right.
Everything's frozen. It's crazy cold.
Everything's frozen. Yep.
Yeah.
So jump back to your goal quick here before we drag this, topic on for super long time. Yours was build confidence in ice fishing. And when we did our check-in, you were pretty confident. I gave it a half because you couldn't get out ice fishing. And I know we were giving it like this late opportunity here in November, December as a possibility to get out on the water. But you said, our check-in, if I'm remembering correctly, you said you did build your confidence in ice fishing quite a bit, even though you didn't get to execute. So it's one of those like situations.
Yeah. And I did want to be able to execute and have stuff to report back. And like that could have been a whole new topic on the podcast and everything. But like this year for me, just not possible because I'm not going out until I know that it's frozen. I know that they're like 2 inches for people and like 4 inches for ATV or whatever. And like, I'm more comfortable when you're saying I can be on an ATV.
Right.
Like I'm
I agree.
ATV.
I'm still that way too. Yep. Okay. So catch a dogfish on your home turf. I'm just going to put a minus next to that.
Yep. Yeah. Just keep going. We don't even need to talk about it.
Yeah. We'll just move on. I'm going to put a half-seas on catch a fish on the Cayuga Luger. God, there it was.
Yeah,
again.
I attempted it.
Because I remember you talking about it on our check-in. You're like, that thing hit the water. It was sick.
Yeah.
And
that was the other thing. Yeah.
Didn't do it enough to actually get a bite.
Yeah. I liked the way it looked. I liked the way it swam. I was casting it out a lot. That was like another thing, like I was out there and I was filming.
Yeah.
My footage was like 4 hours of me just casting it and reeling it in and not getting hit. And I think it was just like the time of day, the area I was fishing. I think it was just like not necessarily the top water wasn't the ticket. And I was like forcing it. I'm like, fuck you. I'm going to use this top water and we're going to hope something hits it. And like the whole day, I'm just like, nothing's going to hit it. And I'm like, shut up, dude. If you keep casting it, maybe something will, maybe you'll surprise yourself. Maybe it'll be one of those tales where I told myself nothing would bite this today. And then I completely proved myself wrong. And it goes to show that you can never be certain on any type of fishing lures and blah, 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 blah. Turns out I was right.
It turns out. Yep. So, and that's just how it goes sometimes, right?
Yep.
All right. Well, we'll jump into mine now, which is just a series of minuses on the dog. Just a series of fails, a series of shortcomings. I'm going to blow through them and then come back. Okay. So walleye fishing for eaters with new gear. Total miss. Pikes.
You can still do it.
Pickled pike. I know.
You got open water.
I know. And that's actually, I know. So that goes back to the story before. I'll come back to it quick. You know what? Fuck it. Let's go in order. Okay. So walleye fishing for eaters with new gear. Now, this is seriously what I was thinking is, there's a big lake around my area and I was thinking there's a couple big lakes around my area down here in the southwest metro. Yep. And I was like, okay, there's definitely going to be some bays open because they're going to be the windy side. And then there's going to be this and that. And I'm thinking about a bunch of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you, if the water's open, if I go down there this weekend and the water's open, do I put on a diver? Do I just fucking go down? Like, what do I do? Could I fish? Because remember, I got those, what are those fucking shit? They're soft plastic, and they got that paddle tail on them, right? And I think you said those are for
a swim bait.
walleyes.
Yeah, like a paddle tail swim bait. Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
I can't remember what brand you have or what, but yeah, where it's got a paddle tail, just a paddle tail.
Yeah, it's like a bigger paddle tail. I mean, bigger. I say bigger, but we're talking.
Yeah, some people call them grubs, some people call them swim baits. When you put, depending on the jig head that you use and stuff, like a lot of people just call them different stuff, but it's just a paddle tail, swim bait. So yeah, you could totally cast one of those out and reel it in or jig it. One thing nice right now that you should be able to jig pretty much anywhere and not really have to worry about the weeds too much. The weeds should be dead. Wondering. Yeah, the weeds should be dead. So like they shouldn't hold on very good, even if it falls into the weeds when you're ripping them out. Like, I wouldn't think that they'd be on, really holding. You might be surprised, like if there's no current in the area and it's not moving anything, like if the dead stuff fell down and it's just kind of sitting there, it might be just waiting to get picked up. Like later in the year, sometimes the weeds can get annoying because they rip out easier and stuff.
Okay.
And, I think I speak for 90% of the people in Minnesota when we say that we've never casted a line this late in the year, like in the open water. So I don't know exactly what would be happening.
Yeah.
So that's the thing too, that I was thinking, like when you're saying, I was thinking about it too the other day, and it's like, what are the fish doing? And it's like, well, when the ice freezes over, the lake freezes over, there's current. If the lake has current, if it's like some sort of a system where it has a river or there's a, like there's a stream that comes into it, like there's a slight bit of current in some of those like areas and stuff. But if it doesn't have some of that stuff, there's no current. It's all still. There's no wind. Like the wind will move the zooplankton. The plankton is what the bait fish eat. The bait fish is what the big fish eat. So it's like this chain of events where they all move and stuff. And what that plankton, I don't know what it does in winter. That's one thing that I need to learn too, is like,
because I know lack that when of sun and like there's less, there's going to be a natural, because they eat the plants and the plants are going to be less prevalent no matter what because of the sun change. Yeah.
Well, the fish too start eating, like there's a lot of like bloodworms and weird shit like that they eat on. Like that's why some of the bait for ice fishing is different than what you see in the summer.
Right.
Because there's some shit that's just kind of like in the water where everything slows down. The fish must like just kind of like look in certain areas for stuff. Or maybe those bloodworms move around way more when the current exists and the wind is moving and all the other stuff is there. Maybe when it slows down and everything's cold, like you just get, more time to really, like, think about it being in the woods and on a windy day, you're not really like paying attention to the stuff around you when you're walking. But on a super calm day, it's like you just know your surroundings more. And it's like, I don't know if that's what it's like for them, where there's just like,
yeah, it's a good thought though.
You don't use this shit during the summer because in the summer months it's more hectic and you're just hitting the stuff that you can see easier. And in the winter you're lethargic, so you're just kind of like, what's up today? Oh, what's that red thing? Oh, that looks like it could be food. I'm gonna try it today. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. It's weird shit like that. But that's what I was thinking along the lines of like, so you would think that it's gonna be just like when the water is open any other time, and that the wind can set up the fish and that they're going to be moving and stuff. And but I was like, is it like early spring?
Right.
Because
fish that's what it feels like to us, but we have to remember that the sun's not the same, that the wind isn't exactly the same either, because it does get cold enough at night where a little bit of ice forms or ice does form. But then it opens up when the wind actually starts to blow in the sun. So it's really hard Yeah, I mean, I get where you're going. That's what I'm trying to say is like, I understand, and I'm just bringing more variables to the table that it's like, fuck, dude.
Yeah, because the weird part is like, at first I was thinking, well, it's got to be like late fall is what it's got to be like. But
sure,
some of these lakes technically already froze, and then it warmed back up, and the ice thawed out.
Mm-hmm,
So it's like, well, then we're like more like spring, like stuff is warming up.
Yeah.
Are the fish set up on spring, or are the fish like, nah, it's gonna get cold again? You know, like,
yeah, that's a good question. Let me ask you this. You know what I have? I have that like 7-inch purple swimmer. I have those, like, I think they're 5-inch paddle tails. And then, I mean, that's it for my walleye gear. Really, I actually have some worms too. But are those walleyes? I don't know. What do you think you'd drop if you were able to get out this week? Like if you said you're taking out the boat, like out of those 3 things, like I got a plastic worm, I got like a 6-inch paddle, and I got like a 7-inch deep dive Rapala triple. I think it's got 3 hooks on it. Like it's got 3 triples. Yeah. I'm not saying I have time to throw all of them, and that's why I'm kind of coming. That's why I'm not saying I'm going to go out at all, but I'm just thinking, hey, if I get an opportunity, do you have any advice on which one you'd be throwing out there for, a couple tries?
That's tough.
Yeah. No, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm just like, I'm thinking here, because like a deep diving Rapala or whatever, probably not what you should be going with, because late fall, early spring, when the water's open, they should be shallower. You shouldn't be out in deep water. I would think that they're shallow. Like some of the crappies would be out deeper, but if you're in the shallow, like if you're casting from shore and stuff, they should be shallow. I don't think that they'd be out deep.
Yeah, so you're like saying, hey, walleyes, man, maybe like maybe if you're throwing from shore, walleyes might be there.
Yeah. So I would say out of what you have, that paddle tail might be a good good choice. And the size, if it's like 6 inches, that's a pretty big one.
Yeah, it is.
But like you might have a pike. Pike will come up in the shallows and stuff too. People set up tip ups in the shallow waters because the pike will just kind of be roaming around there too.
Yeah.
So like if you're casting on a paddle tail.
That's the second thing though. Like pickled pike bites, man. That's not going anywhere. I'm telling you that right now. Right. That ain't going anywhere, man. I'm making that episode. I'm going to do that. So if I go out with that thing, I might be killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Because if I'm fishing for walleye with that thing, I'll check that box because that's what I want. But if I get a pike, I'm fucking making like I'm checking another box,
Right. For sure. That would be sick.
So that's a good point.
That water has got to be like right on the cusp of freezing back over again, because it is cold.
I think so.
So the only thing that I was thinking too is it makes it a little bit tough, because none of what you are saying for your 3 options, I would say is technically ideal. But I would say that the paddle tail is probably your best option.
Like, and just doing it to fulfill a goal, almost like
right.
Doing it to fulfill a goal and prove a point, right? Like, that's almost what it comes down to, is like prove a point that it does or doesn't work and whatever.
Yeah. And I just wanted to say that the only reason I would say that it's not ideal is just because of, in the cold water, like a little bit faster vibration is a lot of times, or like a tighter wobble. And some of those paddle tails, depending on the one that you're using, can really be like really flopping like this. And it's just like kind of a slow womp back and forth and stuff. But I don't think that it wouldn't work. I think that it's just not ideal.
Right.
And that's the same with your Rapala. Your Rapalas would catch. I just think that deep diving would not be like if you have a jerk bait. Well, you're trying to use your new stuff though, right?
Yeah, that was the goal. But now I'm starting to think I do have these smaller ones that I haven't opened yet, and I didn't think about them as walleye. But
If you had a jerk bait,
okay, I'm gonna write that down.
Because of how cold everything is and how slow it's moving, you can just pop that thing and then just let it suspend. If it's a suspending one or even a floating one or whatever. But you just reel it a little bit and like pop it a little bit and then just let it pause.
Okay.
Sometimes they'll come and hit it on that pause. That can catch walleye and bass and northern. Like,
okay,
I've caught.
no, because I forgot about those. So I think I have what you're saying. It's just been so long since I opened them up, and with the move and everything, I'm having flashbacks of all my stuff getting moved and like opening it up and making sure that everything was still there and it didn't get moved around or whatever. And I can't remember what exactly is in there. I just remember them. They're clownfish painted, and I mean clownfish like white with those fucking multicolor spots on them.
Yeah.
And then they have like a blue or red head on them or some shit like that. But I forget if they're jerk baits or if they're what the fuck else? What's the similar to a jerk bait? I'm drawing a blank right now.
Well, a crankbait.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what they are. So okay, but that helped. But I'm glad you said something because I totally forgot about those little fuckers. And so that's great. Then I got catfish fry with a short video. Man, that one was ambitious. Me and my buddy who were talking about doing that were way hot on it going into the fall. And that just fell apart. Catch a predator with a Berkeley gilly on a local pond. I gave that a slash. The gilly hit the water, but nothing came of it. And then ice fish again, total negative. We already talked about that. That was fuckery. Oh, and then you know what? I'm putting a slash on Spotify video because when, like I said in our review, I know how, and I still know how, and we're going to get to the visual here in just a second. I'm going to wrap it up. We'll wrap up with that. But I just want to say on the Real AFTV goals here, we have Spotify video. I know how. We'll see. Nah, that ain't happening right now. I know how. I'm very certain that we could get Spotify video. You hit us up, please. People listening, if you're listening on Spotify and you're like, yeah, fuck yeah, it'd be sweet because you guys are making visual gags and shit, and you're always saying go over to YouTube, but I'm on Spotify. I'd rather see it there right away. And yeah, if we get that feedback, we'll do it. We'll make it happen for sure. I'm not opposed to doing it. Just where Real AFTV's at right now, it's not in the cards because it requires extra production time and investments and actually here's what it is. We're completely independent. Yes, YouTube hosts our videos entirely, but I could pull them from YouTube and I could host them on our website. We own our server, we own our website. We feed to the other podcasts. We feed to all our podcast servers from our server. This is really behind the scenes shit, but I just, what I'm saying is like, we're indie to the core. We don't depend on any of these podcast services. You could find us right on our website if you wanted. Google doesn't even download. They just stream from our website. Like Spotify, I know they download it because when I upload a bunk file, like a file that has a corruption in it that I didn't know ahead of time, I change it and it takes time for Spotify to figure it out. So Spotify is actually downloading it, putting it on their servers and hosting it. They own a hosting platform and they want people to be on that hosting platform. And that's what it takes to get Spotify video up. And so it's a little bit of this of a duality problem, right? Where we want to stay independent and hang on to all our shit and be in control of our own media. But we know there's a giant podcast service out there that needs us to operate through them. And having one video feed right now is enough. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Because YouTube, for us, Spotify would be just Spotify podcast video version. YouTube for us is more than just the video podcast. So
sure,
it has a higher value in my book.
Right. Yes. Yeah, I was going to say that too. It's like we're ambitious and we have plans to do everything, and like the way you're explaining it there, it feels like almost if we're trying to do the Spotify video, that we're like pushing all the chips in on just the podcast. Like the amount of work it would have to do would be like, fuck everything else. We can only do the podcast if this is the route we're taking.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well put, dude. That's definitely it.
Yeah.
So let's close out with what you pulled up there for visual. Speaking of video,
that visual. Yeah, exactly. The visual is like, I have some fishing stuff laying around, and I was just going to say like a jerk bait like this, where it has like a smaller bill on it. Make sure that you're looking at something like that where it's not going to dive too deep.
Okay. I'm going to memorize that. Like I'm taking a visual photo or like a mental photo of that right now, because I can't remember how big the bills are on my little guys.
Yeah, this one's pretty small, but I mean, like, just think about it almost like where it's coming out of too. A lot of these where it's like a small bill and it's coming like out of almost like it's coming out the chin.
Yeah,
is normally like a deep dive or like a shallower diver. If it wants to dive deep, a lot of times they'll have the bill comes from like the nose itself.
Oh, almost like with the curve of the top of the fish, sort of.
Yeah, and see the line tie. The line tie will like be on the bill itself, not on the nose of the bait.
The bill itself means it's going to dive deeper, typically.
Right.
The line tie on the bill means it's probably going to dive deeper. Okay.
Yeah, because it's like a bigger. If the line tie is on the bill's normally bigger, and it's like trying to like catch more water. When it catches more water, it forces it down.
Right.
For most of the time, there's
yeah. I know you're
exceptions, but yeah,
there's always exceptions. I know the generalities being on the internet. You always have to be like, well, there's always exceptions, because otherwise you're going to get the dumbass comment like, oh, I never fucking, whatever. Shut the fuck up.
This is the Kevin Van Dam, I forget exactly what the name of it is, but it's the jerk bait. But this one too has a nice hefty rattle.
Oh yeah.
So this one, I think too, this time of year when things are just kind of lethargic and stuff, like when you're ice fishing, a lot of rattling spoons and stuff are kind of like you shaking that rattle kind of gets their attention. And even though they're lethargic and moving slow and stuff, they'll kind of swim in. And I was really thinking if you had one of these, like if you just kind of like, you rip it, like, wow, and then let it sit. Those two rattles will kind of like call it in, and then it just sits there. And the fish is like, what's going on? And then maybe you get its attention, and then
it's like ground hunting. You call it in and you wait and you pause instead of, it's like ground hunting is you call it in and then you wait for the animal to pause during the silence, right? In this case, it's you call it in and you let the call pause, and that's enough to make that fish. Yeah.
And sometimes they'll come up and like just grab it as it's sitting there. But a lot of times they'll swim up and they'll just kind of stare at it. And then that next twitch that you make, don't smash.
Yeah. Sick.
So, and jerkbait fishing can be a lot of fun. I just feel like jerkbait fishing is like the most versatile thing if you're trying to get on like one lure.
Yeah.
Because you could burn it. You can just reel and keep like always be popping it, but you can just like be reeling it and just constantly pop it.
Just pop, like pop, reel, pop, reel, pop. Yeah, like you got the motion where you're reeling and you're popping at the same time kind of situation.
Yeah, but the opposite way. You're like, I know you're for visuals on the podcast, but like pointing your rod down, popping it like almost like
okay. Down.
Ripping it at the water.
The side.
Pop. Yep.
Okay.
So you're reeling it and you kind of like want to like on a slack line almost. Like when you pop down, it kind of pulls it forward. So if you just point the rod tip back at where you were and you pop again, even for that split second, just lifting that rod tip made it slack again, and you'll pop it. And a lot of times it'll like dart back and forth and stuff.
Right. Okay.
So you could work it back in pretty fast. You could pop it twice and then just leave it sit there for a minute, 2 minutes, not move it at all. It doesn't really matter. You could do whatever you want. You could cast it out and just reel it back in. These don't have a lot of action. Yeah, they don't have a lot of action when you just reel straight, but some of like the husky jerks from Rapala, depending on the ones that you're using, people troll with those. like behind the boat. They'll cast them out and just troll with them. It's kind of like a slow moving action and stuff. So you can just cast it out and retrieve it. And because it is such a slow moving with the bill the way it is, if you just cast it out and retrieve it, that might work really well right now with everything being lethargic and you're just swimming in a straight line. And it's just kind of swimming like this, and then the walleyes behind it just kind of going like
with it.
Oh, what's this guy doing? I guess I'll eat him. You know, I just
and just give that little bit of energy more to snatch something that it views as positive calories.
Yeah, and I think what makes this so versatile, especially when you have a suspending, is you can stop it. So you can. There's almost I can't think of a bait that you could fish slower. Because you can literally stop it in the water wherever it's at and just not do anything with it, and then pop it, once every minute.
Man, that's weird to think about because you never see anybody fish like that. I never do. Like, you never see the pros fish like that. You don't see like fishing videos like that. I mean, there's obviously something to. Oh shit, man, we got to wrap this up. But okay, yeah, hit me with that.
Yeah, I was just gonna say
because it turned into a different topic, right? Like I didn't see it going into how to fish the shitty weather. Is now we're doing a mini topic on it.
It is, a little bit. It's kind of because it's so interesting. I was thinking about it too, but like this is like a lipless crankbait. Like here, I'll try to hold it by the line tie where you tie the line on. So if you tie the line right here.
On the top there, like it's basically on top of the lure, like right where the dorsal fin would be on a fish.
Yeah, exactly. And then you got the two hooks hanging.
Yep.
But that'll swim through the water like this, and that just vibrates. There's no lip on that. It just vibrates really fast. That has a rattle. Most of them do. So you got that. So it's like a high vibration and stuff. And you can use those when you're ice fishing. You can just rip them up and down. You just rip them and then let them fall, and then you can rip them. So that is really good in the springtime and the fall time in cold weather because it's that tight wiggle, that tight vibration. So if you can use those when you're ice fishing, then that's another thing that would work really good. And that's one where you can cast it out and you can just reel it, straight retrieve it, just like you can feel it in the bait. Or you can kind of yo-yo it out. You can work it almost like a jig. You can cast it. You can let it fall, rip it up, let it fall, rip it up, let it fall. But that bait is only ripping it and letting it fall or reeling it in fast. If you pause it, it's falling to the bottom. And with those dual treble hooks, whatever's on the bottom, it's probably coming back up with it. And then the action's not going to work right for the rest of your retrieve, where this is going to be sitting high in the water column, pausing wherever you leave it. So this, I think, is so much more versatile, and it lets you play around with stuff where, some of the other stuff you have to be, you have like one of two options.
Right.
And you have to do those, and maybe they'll work. Yeah. And maybe they'll work, but it doesn't give you the chance to play around with them much. Right. You can't slow it down as well,
Okay.
So, anyways, that's.
No, I know it turned into a mini topic, and I just want to wrap it up but it was good. It was really good, man. I'm even thinking about how I might just peel this one off and like put it somewhere. But, anyways, mind back on track here. Let's jump into the 2024 goals. We're going to take a break. We're going to jump into our 2024 goals. We already have them written down. We're going to talk. This is sure to go another hour, I'm sure. This is a big episode. But an hour a topic. We're gonna get into the 2.5. Some hang in for the ride. Let's take a break. Let's regroup. Let's reset from our, like good, but we realized we did not accomplish a lot of goals.
Yeah.
Good conversation, not a lot of success. Let's regroup and talk about the 2024 goals here. Coming up in the second half. Hit the break.
Real.